The next content in the novel, that is the symbols. What symbols are used in the novel Nectar in a Sieve? That first one, rice. How it is used as a symbol in the novel. Rice is the overriding symbol for life itself in Nectar in a Sieve. Nathan presses grains for his harvest into Rukmini's hand to impress his bride with their prospects for prosperity. As Rukmini learns to plant, she is struck by the wonder of seeds that contain for her life itself. Mounds of rice tinted with saffron and fried in butter mark the birth feast of Rukmini's first son. The monsoon floods destroy the paddy and with it the family chance to eat that season. They use their precious savings to buy rice at prices, for without it they will not live. When the drought takes their harvest, Rukmini runs her fingers obsessively through at the last of her hoarded rice. She loves the feeling of the rice because she loves life so fiercely. The second symbol used in the novel, that is bullocks. By their strong and patient work, bullocks are closely allied with the hardworking peasants who live on the land. The bullocks who carry Rukminis as a bride to her new home wear bells on their horns to tinkle a happy accompaniment to the song of birds and sweet smells of the land. Like Nathan and Rukmini, the bullocks undergoes the harmony of nature. They provide the dung Rukmini uses to burn for fuel and waterproof her. But like the peasants, the bullocks suffer from the injustice of overwork. One of the bullocks pulling them to the city develops a festering sore. The carter explains that he has to continue the work, the animal in order to make his living, just as Nathan and Rukmini must work together in their harvest even while they are starving to death. The bullock flinches when the yoke is put upon his raw neck, but he patiently accepts his fate. Rukmini's sympathy for the injured beast is indicative of her stand against the injustice of the peasants' lot. The third symbol, that is sari, the sari. Rukmini's wedding sari is the material possession she most prizes and she holds fast to it as a source of prestige, dignity, and pride. Made of rich cloth with wide borders in silver thread, it communicates that her father was a headman and that she comes from important people. For Ira's wedding, Rukmini brings forth hoarded stores, food, and delicacies to make a fine showing for the feast. But more important, she provides the wedding sari for Ira to wear. During their hard and hungry times, Rukmini holds on to the wedding sari to wear at her son's future wedding so she will not shame them. When forced, when faced the destitution, Rukmini must choose between the sari and the land. She offers the sari for sale along with their bullocks and household possession in order to hold on to the land they need to live. By relinquish her most prized possession, Rukmini reduces her attachment to worldly goods as an important step toward achieving the Hindu virtue of dharma. The next content, that is motifs. What motifs in the novel? The first one, drum beats. Great change in accompanied by drum beats in Rukmini's life. Drummers first appear to call labors into the village, and Rukmini loses her two sons to Cylon. Ira has a drummer and a fiddler for her wedding before she leaves her mother's home. Drumbeats announces the widespread devastation of the flood that destroys their crops. Drummers emphasize the passion and joy of Deepavali, the festival of lights, which marks a highlight of Rukmini as well as the conception of her last child. When Raja is killed by the tannery guards, Rukmini listens to the drum beats at his funeral pyre until they die away. Just before Nathan dies, Rukmini buys Puli a dum-dum cart that plays a drum as it is pulled along. With their insistent rhythm, drum beats announce. They predict each change of circumstance. The second motive, that is confronting the stranger. Again and again, Rukmini confronts those who are different and learns from her encounters. From the Muslim wife of a tannery official, she learns that possessions are less important than freedom. From the tannery official who visits after Raja's death, she learns that a cold and mercenary heart creates a chasm between people that cannot be crossed. From Kenny, she learns that some strangers care enough about the suffering of others to contribute funds for a hospital. From thus the servant in the city, she learns the value of kindness to the destitute. From a helpful stranger, she learns there is a good food for the poor at the temple. From Puli, she learns that family can be created through generosity. Rukmini's life is enriched by the strangers who enter it. Findings and conclusion of the novel. So, what happened in the end of the novel? The ending of the novel is satisfying as a closure to one chapter of Rukmini's life, but the beginning of the novel marks the close to Rukmini's real life story. Instead, Rukmini ends the novel on a hopeful note. She has returned home to her happy place, has her family by her side, and new chapter of her life lies before her. So this is the important of the nectar in a sieve. Though there will be some problems, so many problems, so we have to strive, we have to live with the hope. So that is a nectar in a sieve. Questions on the novel. The first question, the novel is told through first person narration many years after the story takes place. Why might the author have used this technique? How would the novel have been different if it had been told through Rukmini's perspective as a child, or if a different character narrated the story? The next question, the concept of hope is central to this novel. How do Rukmini and Nathan show their hope? What keeps them hopeful? Why does Rukmini choose not to tell Nathan that she has gone to Kenny for help with her infertility? How does she eventually find peace in telling him the truth? How does the coming of the Tinary affect the family's life? How do the various characters react to its presence and why? One of the ironies of peasant life as portrayed in the novel is that sons are required to maintain the family's subsistence. However, more children mean more mouths to feed. Why are sons so important? What keeps the sons in the novel from working the fields? Rukmini teaches all of her children to read and write, even though many in her village believe this can lead to trouble. What would have happened to her children if she had not done so? How else throughout the novel do the characters demonstrate knowledge as a powerful catalyst for change? Throughout the novel, Kenny's view of the peasants and Rukmini's views of Kenny and other white men set up an interesting debate. Do you agree with either of them? Is there a common ground? At the time this novel was written, child marriage was a common practice in India. Why do you think this was so ingrained in the culture? How do you think it is prohibition has changed life in India? The title Nectar in a Sieve comes from a poem by Samuel Taylor St. Coleridge called Work Without Hope. Work without hope draws nectar in a sieve, and hope without an object cannot live. What does this mean? Why do you think Markandeya chose it for the title of for the novel? So this was our second novel, unit number 2, that is 3.1 Indian Writing in English, Nectar in a Sieve by Kamla Markandeya.